today, we're going to jump right into something that feels like it's ripped straight from the future, but it's actually happening right now. We're talking AI agents. And, this isn't just your typical tech hype cycle, where every, couple months there's something new that's supposed to change everything. This is something that really has the potential to change like the core of how we interact with technology and even how businesses are structured.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's like we've gone through these phases where it's like, okay, we had, basic software, and then we had the internet, and then we had mobile and social media. AI agents are like the next big thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so today we're going to do a deep dive into like what AI agents actually are and how they work, beneath the surface.
Yeah.
And what are the different levels of intelligence that we're seeing with these things? Are they all created equal, or are there different tiers of capability?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are confused because it is a very complicated topic. So we're going to try to simplify it for you. Bring it down to earth, and hopefully have some of those like aha moments for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So let's just jump right in. When we say AI agent, what are we actually talking about? Like, what does that actually mean?
So an AI agent is really a system with different components that allow it to kind of perceive the world around it, make decisions, and then take actions. So you can think of it as like a cycle.
So it's not just like, a chatbot or a large language model like we hear so much about these days. It's
Yeah.
something more than that.
Yeah, exactly. So like a chatbot or an LM, that's just one part of it. An AI agent has ways of taking in information. So that could be through like sensors if it's a physical robot, or it could be by, connecting to databases or websites or whatever if it's a digital agent.
So like if it was a physical robot, it might have like cameras or microphones so it can see and hear. But if it's a digital agent, it might, be plugged into in different software applications or be able to access information online.
Yeah, exactly. And then it has to be able to do something with that information. So it needs ways to act on it. And those are called actuators. So for a physical robot, that could be like moving its arm or its legs or driving around. But for a digital agent, it could be things like sending emails or making transactions or updating information in a database.
Right. So it's not just sitting there passively taking in information. It can actually like do things in the world based on what it's learned.
Exactly. And the part that decides what to do, that's called the control system. And this is where, the LLM or the chatbot might come in, because the control system needs to be able to process information and make decisions.
And the LLM is really good at like understanding language and generating text,
Right.
but it's not necessarily good at like, logic or planning or things like that.
Right. So the control system might have other components like, decision-making algorithms or logical processing units. And then the LLM can help it to, communicate with the outside world using language.
Got it. So it's kind of like a team. You have different specialists that are good at different things, and then the LLM is kind of like the spokesperson for the team.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And then the last piece is that it needs some way to store information and learn from its experiences. So this is like the memory of the AI agent.
So it's not just like, starting from scratch every time it does something. It's actually building on its past experiences and getting smarter over time.
Exactly. So all of these pieces together, that's what makes an AI agent.
Okay, so that's a good overview of the kind of the nuts and bolts of it. But we also hear these terms like autonomy and agency thrown around a lot. What do those actually mean in the context of AI agents?
So autonomy basically means that the agent can make its own decisions without a human having to tell it what to do every step of the way. It can kind of set its own goals and figure out how to achieve them.
So it's not just like, following a set of pre-programmed instructions. It can actually like adapt to new situations and make decisions on the fly.
Exactly. And then agency is the ability to actually act on those decisions. So it's not just about thinking, it's about doing.
Got it. So autonomy is like the brains, and agency is like the brawn.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier that AI agents can also augment or extend their capabilities. Can you explain what that means?
So augmentation means that an AI agent can actually improve its own skills or integrate new tools into its system. It can learn from its experiences and get better at what it does. And extensibility means that it can basically expand its range of abilities beyond what it was originally designed to do.
So it's not just limited to its initial programming. It can actually evolve and grow and learn new things.
Exactly. And this is where we start to see some really interesting capabilities emerge, like goal orientation and complex problem solving.
So how are these different from what we see with like simpler AI tools?
So a simple AI tool might be able to do one specific task really well. But an AI agent can have a much broader goal, and it can figure out the steps it needs to take to achieve that goal. It can break down complex problems into smaller pieces and come up with a plan of action.
So it's not just reacting to individual commands, it's actually thinking ahead and working towards a bigger objective.
Exactly.
Now, I've also heard the terms embodied and disembodied AI agents.
Right.
What's the difference there?
So an embodied AI agent is one that has a physical form, like a robot. It can interact with the real world directly. A disembodied AI agent exists purely in the digital world, so it might be like a piece of software or an online service.
So when we think about like robots in science fiction movies,
Yeah.
those would be examples of embodied AI agents.
Right. And a lot of people think that, like, the future is going to be full of humanoid robots walking around doing our chores for us.
Yeah, like Rosie from the Jetsons.
Exactly. But, in reality, a lot of the tasks that we want to automate don't actually require a human-like form. Like a robot arm on a factory assembly line doesn't need to look like a person to do its job.
Right. It just needs to be able to perform the specific task that it was designed for.
Exactly. And so for a lot of applications, a disembodied AI agent is actually more efficient. But there are some cases where a humanoid form would be useful. Like if you wanted an AI agent that could do a wide variety of tasks in environments that are designed for humans.
So like if you wanted a robot that could cook dinner and clean the house and fold laundry, that would probably need to have a humanoid form so it could interact with all the different appliances and tools that we use.
Yeah, exactly. But we're not quite there yet with general purpose AI. So for now, most AI agents are disembodied.
Okay. So let's talk about the impact of all this. Like, how is this technology going to change things? And you mentioned enterprise software earlier. How do you see AI agents impacting that industry?
So I think enterprise software is one of the areas where we're going to see the biggest impact because right now, a lot of enterprise software is basically just a user interface on top of a database.
So like, yeah, we use software to like manage customer relationships or track our finances or, schedule appointments and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But really all that software is doing is giving us a way to interact with the data that's stored in a database.
Right. And humans are the ones who are doing all the work. We're the ones who are entering the data and updating it and searching for information.
Yeah, we're constantly clicking buttons and filling out forms and
Yeah,
navigating menus.
exactly. But with AI agents, we can start to automate a lot of that. AI agents can interact with databases directly, they can understand the data, and they can manipulate it. And they can do it much faster and more efficiently than humans can.
Wow. So you're saying that like the software itself might become less important? Like we might not need these complicated user interfaces anymore if the AI agents can just interact with the data directly.
Yeah, that's the potential. And that has huge implications for the software industry. I mean, think about all the jobs that are related to selling and implementing and using enterprise software. If AI agents can do a lot of that work, then those jobs might not be needed anymore.
Yeah, that's a really big shift to think about. Now, you mentioned earlier that there are different levels of AI agents. Can you explain what those levels are and how they differ?
Yeah, so you can think of it as like a hierarchy of capabilities. At the lowest level, you have what we call chatbots. But these aren't the simple chatbots that you might have encountered in the past. These are much more advanced. They can handle multiple conversations at once, and they can do things like schedule appointments and make reservations and answer basic questions.
So they're kind of like digital personal assistants.
Exactly. And then at the next level up, you have what we call task-specific experts. These AI agents have deep knowledge in a particular domain. So, for example, you might have an AI agent that's really good at analyzing legal documents, or an AI agent that's really good at diagnosing medical conditions.
So they're like specialists.
Right. And they can do things that humans can do, but they can do them much faster and more accurately. Like I read about this case where an AI agent was able to analyze 10 years worth of legal documents in just 48 hours, and it found all sorts of precedents and insights that the human lawyers had missed.
Wow. That's incredible. So what's the next level up from that?
So the next level up is what we call autonomous workers. And this is where things start to get really interesting because autonomous workers can operate independently for extended periods of time. They can make their own decisions and they can adapt to changing circumstances. They don't need a human to tell them what to do every step of the way.
So they're like self-directed employees.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the most compelling examples of this is this AI agent that was tasked with growing a Twitter account to 100,000 followers.
Wow. So this AI agent was basically running its own social media marketing campaign.
Yeah, basically. It created its own content, it responded to comments, it even paid other AI agents to do things like create memes for it.
Wow. And did it reach its goal?
Yeah, it actually surpassed its goal. It got to like 150,000 followers in a few months.
That's amazing. So what are some other examples of autonomous workers?
Well, we're seeing them being used in all sorts of industries. Like there are AI agents that are managing investment portfolios. There are AI agents that are running automated warehouses. And there are even AI agents that are coordinating fleets of autonomous vehicles.
So it's not just like one-off tasks. They're actually capable of managing complex ongoing operations.
Exactly. And this is one of the things that makes AI agents so powerful. They can work 24/7. They don't get tired. They don't make mistakes.
So what's the next level up from autonomous workers?
So the next level up is what we call innovators or inventors. And these AI agents are capable of coming up with new ideas and solutions. They're not just following instructions, they're actually creating new things.
So they're like the true creative geniuses of the AI world.
Yeah, exactly. And one example of this is this AI agent that designed a new type of solar panel. It was able to come up with a design that was much more efficient than anything that human engineers had been able to come up with.
Wow, that's incredible. So what are some other things that innovator AI agents could potentially do?
Well, they could be used to discover new drugs, to design new materials, to create new forms of energy. The possibilities are really endless.
So it's like we're on the cusp of a whole new era of innovation.
Yeah, exactly. And then the final level of AI agents is what we call organizations or game changers. And these AI agents are capable of running entire organizations. They can manage all the different departments and they can make strategic decisions about the future of the company.
Wow. So they're like the ultimate CEOs.
Yeah,
Uh,
basically. And some people believe that we'll eventually see companies that are run entirely by AI.
Wow. That's a really interesting thought.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this progression from simple chatbots to these really sophisticated AI agents. But what's the fundamental shift that's happening here? Like, how is our relationship with AI changing?
Well, I think one of the key shifts is that we're moving from a model of assistance to a model of agency.
What do you mean by that?
So in the past, a lot of AI was focused on augmenting human capabilities. Like we had AI-powered tools that could help us write better code or design better websites, but the human was still in control.
Right. It was like having a really smart assistant.
Exactly. But with AI agents, the AI is taking on a much more active role. It's not just assisting us, it's actually making decisions and taking actions on its own.
So it's like the AI is becoming an independent actor.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big change. It means that we need to start thinking about AI in a different way. We need to start thinking about it as a partner or even a competitor.
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
So how do these AI agents actually work? Like, what's the process that they go through to make decisions and take actions?
So it's basically a three-step process. First, they reason about the problem that they're trying to solve. Then they collaborate with other tools and systems to gather information and resources. And then finally, they take action to implement their solution.
Can you give me an example of what that might look like in practice?
Sure. So let's say you have an AI agent that's tasked with managing a company's marketing campaign. The first thing the agent would do is reason about the problem. It would figure out what the company's goals are, who its target audience is, and what kind of marketing channels are available. Then the agent would collaborate with other tools and systems to gather information and resources. It might connect to the company's CRM system to get data about its customers. It might use a web scraping tool to gather information about its competitors. And it might even use a natural language processing tool to analyze social media sentiment. Finally, once the agent has gathered all the information it needs, it would take action to implement its solution. It might create and launch a new ad campaign, it might write and publish new blog posts, or it might even reach out to individual customers through email or social media.
So it's a very iterative process. It's not just like,
Yeah.
the AI agent gets its instructions and then goes off and does its thing. It's constantly learning and adapting and refining its approach.
Exactly. And that's what makes AI agents so powerful. They're not just following a set of pre-programmed instructions. They're actually thinking and learning and evolving.
So let's talk about some specific examples of how AI agents are being used in businesses today. What are some of the most exciting applications that you're seeing?
Well, one area where we're seeing a lot of activity is in marketing. AI agents are being used to personalize marketing messages, to optimize ad campaigns, to generate content, and to track results.
So it's like having a whole team of marketing experts working for you 24/7.
Yeah, basically. And the great thing about AI agents is that they can do things that humans can't do. Like they can analyze huge amounts of data to identify patterns that humans would never be able to see. And they can personalize messages at a scale that would be impossible for humans to achieve.
So it's really about taking marketing to a whole new level.
Exactly. And we're also seeing AI agents being used in other areas of business, like customer service and sales and operations.
So basically, any area where there's a lot of data to be analyzed and decisions to be made, AI agents can potentially play a role.
Yeah, exactly.
As we wrap up our discussion, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. One of the sources we looked at had a really interesting quote, and it said, "I have discovered a new law of nature. It is called the law of increasing weirdness."
I like that.
And then it just kind of stopped there. So I'm curious what you think about that. Like, what do you think is the law of increasing weirdness when it comes to AI?
Well, I think it's the idea that as AI gets more powerful, it's going to start doing things that we don't understand and that we can't predict. And I think that's kind of exciting and kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. It's like we're entering this uncharted territory and we don't really know what's going to happen next, but it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's going to be weird and it's going to be interesting. And it's going to change the world as we know it.
Absolutely. So to recap everything we've talked about today, AI agents are a powerful new technology that has the potential to revolutionize the way we work and live. They can automate tasks. They can solve complex problems. They can even come up with new ideas. And as AI agents continue to evolve, we can expect to see them playing an even bigger role in our lives in the years to come. We hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding of what AI agents are, how they work, and the impact they're having on the world.
Yeah. And if you're interested in learning more about AI agents, there are a lot of great resources available online. Agents.
Don't forget to subscribe for more. Also check out our website, thedigitalcraze.com.